Folger moves on in, and he scores! He's going to learn today.
Happy middle of the week, folks, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Pod Street Prospects.
Yeah, boy.
Oh, you know how excited John is to talk about some prospects right now?
I mean, we do it.
Yeah, but like having a prospect-centric podcast. Let's be honest.
I know. I mean, it's going to be fantastic. I think it's great that we have enough content to have two separate shows. You know, I mean, this one's not going to be as long as our main show, but it'll be great to dedicate some time to talk about the youth in the farm system.
No, absolutely. And I think that, like you said, keeping it short and sweet, just kind of, you know, we know who the main prospects are, but this is kind of where we give them their chance to have a spot in the limelight, if you will.
Right.
It's a great week to start this, too, considering the fact that the World Junior Classics just wrapped up a couple days back. I'm sure if you've been following it, we all know gold, silver, bronze. We had Canada beat Russia in the gold medal game, which kind of sucks because we had some skin in that game. We had Yegor Zamula with Team Russia.
Yep.
Canada, there were no Flyers prospects a part of Canada, but boy, was that a fun game to watch.
Yeah, no, it was a really fun game. I mean, it's a game Canada maybe shouldn't have won.
You're right. I mean, Russia was dominant throughout the entire World Junior Classics. I mean, Sweden took home bronze, and Sweden even, they were, I feel like, the favorites coming in this year because they were stacked.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go as far to call them favorites. To me, the two favorites were Canada and Team USA. And, I mean, we'll dive a little bit more into that later. But Sweden seems to have a problem in the semifinals. Like, I think that just the hockey gods are against them. It doesn't matter what they do. They wind up losing. I mean, they played a good game against Russia that went into overtime. And did that go into a shootout? I believe it went into a shootout.
I can't recall.
I believe it went into a shootout. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it went into a shootout. Whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So, yeah, I mean, they can't seem to get past the semifinals.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, you look at this. Russia was 4-3 during the World Junior Classics. Sweden was 5-1. USA 3-2. USA got bounced in the first round. I guess quarterfinals, that's what it is?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, disappointing finish for them.
Absolutely disappointing finish. Sweden made it, like you said, lost to Russia, and then Russia made the gold medal game, lost that. The Directorate Awards, I'll get this right, folks. The IIHF Directorate Awards, the best goaltender of the World Junior Classics. Joel Hofer, Blues prospect, 6 games, 5 wins, .939 save percentage. The Blues have another solid young goalie. Surprise, surprise.
A guy that they really weren't sure was going to even be the starter for Team Canada.
Right?
So that's the surprising part.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, it does surprise me. I thought we'd get a little bit of a better performance from Spencer Knight, given the hoopla surrounding his name around draft time, but still played well. Just,
right.
You know, I guess maybe not to expectation.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he was the best goaltender in the tournament, though. Yeah. Joel Hofer, not Spencer Knight.
Not Spencer Knight. Joel Hofer was. Best defenseman was clear-cut. It was Adam Yenning. I'm kidding, folks. It was Rasmus Sandin, Maple Leafs prospect, 3 goals, 7 assists in 7 games, 10 points total. I mean, the kid can play. Just flat out, he can play.
Right. I mean, stacked blue line for Sweden, too. I mean, if you take a look at who was on that blue line, you know, from Broberg to Yenning to why am I blanking on his name? The draft guy, Soderstrom, and Hoglander.
Hoglander's on there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just great defensive core for that team.
Oh, offensive potential out the wazoo for that blue line. It was amazing. And then I'm sure we all could have guessed this, but the best forward, Alexis Lafreniere, Canada, projected number 1 pick for the 2020 NHL draft. 10 points, 5 games, and he had that goal in the gold medal game that we all remember.
Yep. I mean, the crazy thing is just he missed some time for injury and still was the best player in the whole tournament.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I'll be completely honest and say that I didn't get to watch a ton of the World Junior Classics, but when I saw it, it's clear cut.
Yep.
For me, at least, But then we get down to the media all-star team, and this is voted on by members of the media that were at the games and the event and festivities. Joe Hoffer, goaltender. I feel like that's kind of unanimous. And then Sandin as well was a defenseman, Toronto Maple Leafs prospect. The other defenseman, teammate of one of the Flyers prospects.
Yep.
Alexander Romanov from Russia. Montreal prospect.
Yeah, I mean, and Romanov deserved to be on the All-Star team, but at the same time, I feel like Zamula deserved to be on the All-Star team, which, I mean, they only picked 2, so it makes it difficult. But I do think they really could have been either one.
Oh, yeah. It definitely could have. And with news today, I guess, as I'm sure most of you listening already know, Yegor Zamula is out for 3 to 4 months with injuries that he had and played through during this World Junior Classics.
It's like every time something good happens for this organization, that happens.
It's just a kick in the nuts. Like, I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, but we'll get more into him. So, want me to run through the rest of the All-Star team before I give you a little bit of a break?
Yeah, take me through the forwards here.
Forwards, you had Sam Fagamo. I don't know, Sweden. He's from the Kings. He's drafted from the Kings. You got Barrett Hayden. Canada had a great tournament. I mean, that draft pick is turning out to be a pretty good one. And then Lafreniere also made the All-Star team and was also voted the most valuable player. And one quick thing before we dive into the Flyers stuff, if there was any debate on whether or not Lafreniere was going to be the number 1 overall pick after this tournament, no more debate. He is the number 1 prospect in the 2020 draft.
Yeah, like John Go's daughter, put it to bed. That's it. But now that we've gotten through, the basics, the stuff that, on the surface everybody can look at and see, we're going to dive deep into the Flyers prospects and who competed, what we saw, what observations we can draw from an article that Alexander Appleyard provided us through The Athletic. We're going to take you through some observations there and just kind of give our opinions as well. And we're going to start with Team USA because USA is the greatest country on the planet.
America.
Yeah, so what do you want to do? Do you want to start Cam York? Do you want to start Bobby Brink?
No, let's start with Cam York.
Let's do it.
Probably the most underwhelming prospect for the Flyers in this tournament. You okay?
I'm good. I think my dad texted me and was like, your sister's coming over. I'm like, Dad, leave me alone. I'm recording. I'm being a big boy right now.
Do something, Dad.
My apologies.
Anyway, no worries. You just got to be careful with like burglars and stuff. I don't know if you've got like that safe thing where it's like boop, boop.
Those mean streets of York County, let me tell you.
Anyway, Cam York. See, different podcast, sort of same idiots. I mean, he didn't really play too much. 5 minutes, 55 minutes and 55 seconds per game. His shifts were just short. He rarely played even strength time. It was mainly on the power point. He was the 7th defenseman. I'm obviously going to be biased because I'm a Flyers fan and I cover the Flyers. And I'm going to say, well, I would have liked to see him play more, but I just question his usage. I don't understand why he played so little.
It puzzled me also, and the only thing that I can think of and the only thing that I can gather, we all know that in this first game with Michigan, he suffered a high ankle sprain, and those injuries are no joke. I mean, they can stick with you and linger around for a long time. We see it in the NFL all the time. I mean, being a Cowboys fan, Terrence Newman would always had a damn high ankle sprain. But the shoulder injury more recently he suffered as well could have added to that. We all know the guy's the top power play defenseman on that squad. I mean, this year, and he's also eligible next year, I believe, to play.
Right, and he probably will be the top defenseman on the team next year.
Oh, hands down, of course.
But it's just a weird thing to see. I mean, and he even admitted that he wasn't fully healthy. But, I mean, 10 shifts, 5v5.
Out of 41 total.
Yeah.
Man.
That is just...
I get the criticism from fans about the coaching and about, the usage of these players. I understand it. But let's be honest, Cam York being a very offensive defenseman, I kind of understand why you limit him to 4-on-4. There's more ice. You limit him to the power play. There's more time in the offensive zone. Like, I get that. I understand it. It's just a weird dynamic for us to understand following the NHL where this typically doesn't happen.
Right. And, I mean, when you think about it, if you look at Team USA's blue line, they did have experience, which means, guys who were playing at its second tournament. He was, I believe, the youngest defenseman on the team. They carried seven defensemen. So, you're dealing with prospect all-stars. It kind of makes sense, but at the same time, personally, I think he should have deserved more of an opportunity.
Oh, I think you're right. And I mean, like you said, you look at some of these guys that are on the team, Matthias Samuelsson, Spencer Stastny, Keandre Miller. Like, that's a good set of defensemen to have. And, he'll find his time next year in Alberta when they face off for the 2021 World Junior Classics.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and then if we move to the next guy.
Yes.
Bobby Brink.
Backhanded Bobby Brink.
Backhanded Bobby Brink. Which, I mean, unfortunately, kind of dealt with the same thing. I mean, he, as the tournament went on, dealt with limited playing time, but I was impressed with what I saw from Brink. I mean, you look at the numbers, they're not really there. I mean, he had 1 goal and 1 assist. His 1 goal, if I'm correct, I believe was more of like a tip-in. It was more of a deflection on the power play. But he was in the right places. I mean, he was aggressive. His skating didn't seem to be a problem. I mean, he seemed to kind of keep pace with everybody else, and everyone says that that's a big knock with him. Played on the power play. He had major roles at times, but then he went down to that third line, fourth line role. And I'm sorry, Derek, that I keep talking here, but I promise you're going to get a word in.
You're good, man.
But I said really from the beginning that putting him in that third, fourth line role, he's not going to be with players who have a similar skill set. Those players are more checking line players, and that's not really his game. So he's not going to produce with that style. So I also question his usage, but I also understand that there are other top prospects on this team, and I'm going to have a Flyers bias.
Of course, yeah. And I mean, we're a Flyers podcast, so we're going to have a Flyers bias. But at the same rate, when you start out, it's encouraging, and you look at it, and he played 12 minutes in the first game, almost 14 minutes against Germany. And in that game, he had more ice time than, Cole Caulfield, a guy who he's been called Cole Caulfield light, which odd reason.
Cole Caulfield was Cole Caulfield light at this tournament, man. He could not do anything.
Yeah. But like you said, I think we were talking about his biggest knock, much like Matthew Strome, who you're a big proponent of, the skating. It's the not being able to keep up and just the strides don't look fluent. They said it wasn't a problem, and Appleyard said it looked good. Obviously, it was apparently an issue heading into this, but he said he was keeping time and keeping up with everybody, so that's good. We're drawing good conclusions about this player who honestly is going to end up probably being that fill-in for a guy like Caulfield because, we could have had Cole Caulfield, but we took Cam York. But let's be honest, Bobby Brink's a hell of a consolation prize.
Right, and he's going to get another crack at this. He's going to be a leader on Team USA next year, and again, just like York, be one of the top guys.
Yeah. He'll be put into a position to succeed instead of being put in a bottom six role with those checking forwards like you were saying. He'll be with some scorers, and he'll be in his natural element, and I expect a big World Junior Classic from him next year.
Right. One more thing with him, too, he, being someone so offensively skilled, he needs to be given the opportunity to use those skills, and when you're only playing 11 minutes a game, you're not necessarily given that opportunity.
It's the Joel Farabee situation. You didn't want to put him in a fourth-line role coming up to the Flyers.
Right.
Yeah, Bobby Brink shouldn't be in that role at the World Junior Classics.
Yep.
So next guy we have Adam Ginning from Team Sweden, who there wasn't a ton to expect from him. We know his game. He's a defensive defenseman, and, without sounding, overly dramatic, they're almost a dying breed in today's game.
Right.
Everything's fast. Everything's evolving to a quicker, more fast-paced game, and he's the more stay-at-home defensive presence on the blue line, especially for Sweden. But look at the element that he brings to this team. It's their penalty kill was first in the tournament.
I know.
They were the best, 84.62%, and he was a big part of that.
Yep.
And that, like we said before, that blue line was brimming with offensively gifted defensemen.
Yeah, and he's what you need to complement it. I mean,
exactly.
It's the perfect complement. You know, you have your top guys, and you can put him in a bottom pairing, and you know that you're gonna get defense.
Yeah, like it's in the name of the
defense.
Position.
Right.
I tweeted that out a while ago about people were saying, well, if a defenseman doesn't put up X amount of points, and I'm like, you forget so easily that the word defense is in the name of this guy's position. What's all right, we've got John here. But what I was saying essentially is Yinning did what he was supposed to do in World Junior Classic. He made sure that the defensive game was rounded out amongst a ton of offensively gifted defensemen. And, like we said, expectations should have been tempered from the get-go. But, if you were expecting too much from this guy, then that's on you.
Yeah, I mean, I like what I saw. He was the leader of the team, and he played his role, and he played his role well. And that's kind of all I have to say about him. I don't know if that's not nice.
No, I mean, let's be honest. He's not the flashy type like a Bobby Brink,
right.
That you see these goals and these assists. He had a key stretch pass leading to a 2-on-1, led to a goal in the bronze medal game against Finland. And the one comparison I want to draw is kind of like, do you remember how Gudis, for how much of a pain he could be, his vision wasn't that bad. Like, he would find people on these stretch passes every now and then. And I hate to even bring this guy's name up, but Brandon Manning too. Like, he would catch people off guard with these just passes with his vision. It was good. Yinning could end up being a guy like him. And, I mean, let's be honest. Everybody needs a third pairing guy. It's great. I think having a guy like Yinning on the team, if he makes it, it'll be a third pairing role. But so be it, Not everybody's going to be this top pairing defenseman that, it's too many people with too many high expectations.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you slaughtered Ginning in a good way. You killed it. That was great.
I thank you. So
I didn't even need to be there. That was lovely.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is arguably the most important prospect, not just that the Flyers had there at the World Junior Classic, but one of the more important ones altogether. John, you are the prospect guy, so you take the lead on this, brother.
Well, I mean, yeah, Igor Zamula. If you weren't a fan of this guy before this tournament, you certainly were a fan of him after this tournament. I mean, even his first game, he had 2 goals. Top player in this tournament. I mean, I want to say maybe top 5 player in this tournament. He generated offense. I have his numbers up. What did he do? He did 2 goals. So only the 2 goals in the first game. Then he had 4 assists, so 6 points. But he was a part of the power play. He was a part of the penalty kill. He's more of that guy who's going to find offense for others, and he did so. He was everywhere on the ice, and a main reason why Russia went as far as they did. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Derek, if you know this or not, but I do believe that he had the most playing time, too, of Russian defensemen.
I cannot tell you whether he did or not, but I can tell you right now that his average time on ice was about 22 and a half minutes, which is significant.
Yeah.
So if he didn't lead the team, like Team Russia, in time on ice, he was damn close to leading that team on time on ice. His last 2 games, he was over 24 minutes. Game against Sweden, he was almost 26 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and he did exactly what I wanted him to do. I mean, you see what he does in the WHL, and I just wanted him to translate that dominance, and I'm okay using that word dominance, to this tournament, and he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really cannot believe this guy went undrafted. It's insane. I really hope that this injury is not much of a setback, because he really does have a bright future ahead.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that, we talk, and I mentioned it literally 2 minutes ago about how everybody, top pairing potential. I'm not going to say Zamula is one of those guys that you're going to see on the top pair one of these days, but top four, maybe. I think that's reasonable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know what I always say, pump the brakes, right?
Yeah, of course.
Just because he's having a great junior season and he had a great tournament, let's not go and put him on the top pairing yet. But if we're just assessing what he's done in this World Juniors, you can only walk away with it happy, especially because he was hurt. Imagine if he was at full health.
Oh, man. I really don't think Romanov would have stood a chance.
Right.
But you're right. Far and away, the best defenseman and best player that the Flyers had in this tournament. But if we're going to move on, we're going to move on to one of these segments that we're bringing over from the Pod Street Bullies segments. We are going to answer some questions, but these are prospect questions. So we asked you guys to provide us with a few questions that you'd like to know some answers to regarding the prospects in the Flyers system, and we got a really nice response here. We have Clarky who asks, while I hope they sign both, pretend the Flyers can only sign one of Wade Allison or Tanner Lashinsky. Which one and why?
All right, you want me to lead on this one?
I think you should be leading on this one, yes.
Okay, hands down, no debate, Tanner Lashinsky. Wade Allison's injury trouble, unfortunately, has plagued him since midway through his sophomore season. When he's healthy, he's a really good player, but health is an issue. And you have all of these signs season after season. They decided not to extend to extend the ELC to him after his junior year. They wanted to see him be healthy. It's not working out. And you look at Lashinsky, and he's having a pretty good season again. 7 goals, 13 assists. I think that
point per game player.
Yeah, 20 for 20.
Yep.
20 in 20, if you will.
Yes.
He's somebody who really could be a solid bottom 6 player in the NHL. Not saying that Wade Allison could not be a top 6 type player if he was healthy, but to me, health is the big one here, and he just can't stay healthy enough.
Considering the fact that we're going through a really rough time staying healthy on the Flyers, health is a big deal. And I agree. You literally took every single word out of my mouth. So, Clark, there's both of our answers. We have one from Anthony DeGrazio here, our buddy at Phillies Flyer, and he said, what is the first step to becoming a better road team? Don't think Anthony got the prospect memo, but it's okay. First step to becoming a better road team, play more like your home, what you do at home.
Right. Have Carter Hart bring his teddy bear.
Yes, just like John Gove said on our last show. Now, we get to not two questions, I apologize. 2 tweets from Shane Moon, but one question. Why does Wyatt Wiley not have an ELC yet, especially considering the lack of depth in Lehigh? If I knew the answer, I'd be his agent and I'd be a millionaire.
Oh, my God. I know. Honestly, Shane, I have no clue. I really don't know why we didn't sign him. He should be a Phantom. It just made no sense to me. But this also isn't something new. If you've heard our show before, you know how high I am on Wyatt Wiley. I write articles about him probably more than I should. I think he's a really solid defensive prospect with really strong offensive upside. And what he needed to do was not play his 20-year-old season of the WHL. He needed to take the next step in his development. He needed to go to the AHL. And Chuck Fletcher screwed that up.
Yeah. Now, you also chalked this up to, this was, I couldn't even tell you when we talked about it last because we've talked about it a handful of times. This could also be taken to the account of Chuck Fletcher's the new GM. He didn't draft these guys. He might not know exactly what it is in Wyatt Wiley that made Ron Hextall draft him, but he should be able to take one look and say, okay, I get it.
Well, and honestly, man, and I do agree with that, right? It's not his guy. He didn't draft him. He's not going to have as much knowledge, but that's why you have other people in the organization, and you have to trust what they say. And look at his numbers. I mean, last season he had 47 points in 67 games. that's pretty good for a defenseman. Right now, he's got 35 points in 38 games, so he's going to most likely break that. I hope he stays healthy.
I hope so too.
But if Chuck Fletcher does not sign him this offseason, I'm sorry, Chucky, but you're a moron.
Yeah, I'd be really upset, honestly, because that's one of those guys that he was a steal. I mean, for where he was picked in the draft, that was a great pickup.
For sure.
Yeah. And so that moves us on to our next question. We have a question from Katie with a purple heart. Is Zamula really that good? Everyone seems to be over the moon for him, but I don't think he's top pair potential like most people seem to think he'll be. Katie, I'm here to tell you, that's okay. It is okay that you don't see him as a top pairing partner for, I'm assuming, a guy like Ivan Provorov. That's fine. It's seriously, it's more than okay.
Can we take a quick break for a second? Do you have like a bird or something in the background? What is that?
I have a dog that is completely restless, and she has squeaky toys. So that's probably what it is.
Oh, okay. Yep, that's definitely what it is. It's like, when did you get a bird?
This is what happens when I don't have the money to make it like a legitimate studio. So I'm like upstairs in this little cubby hole, and my wife was like, "You can have this part of the room."
Well, there you go.
Yeah, she loves me, I swear.
But I mean, to keep going with this, though, Katie, you're right. People get really excited. There's a lot of people who don't necessarily follow these guys all the time, which is fine. I mean, it's exhausting. But when you see them at the World Juniors, it's after the holidays. There's not a lot of hockey on, especially this is in the morning. So if you have off, a little hockey and coffee, fantastic. You tend to get really excited. Then you'll look at his numbers and you go, oh, wow, yeah, this guy is really good. But it's expected for him to get overhyped around this time of year.
Oh, yeah.
That's just kind of what happens. And I also I'm not sure he's going to be a top pairing guy. I'm also one of those people who is very hesitant to call any prospect a top pairing guy unless it's completely obvious. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's good that you hesitate to kind of call him that. But I do think it could be very good.
Yeah, it dates back to the article I wrote like 2-3 weeks ago about cautious optimism. Just be optimistic. That's fine. It's more than okay to be optimistic. Be a little cautious with it too when you're talking, especially when it comes to prospects. Because let's be honest, we don't know. We're guessing just like the other guy that's telling you the opposite. So one of us will be right, maybe.
Yeah.
Second to last question, we've got one from Austin Provenzano. Ivan Fedotov has been doing great in the KHL. Do you think he makes the jump to North America next year? Shut up, Paisley. If the Flyers maintain their play, trading a goalie could always be a possibility, making room for him. In your opinion, is Fedotov going to make that jump, or is it going to be one of those things where the Flyers either deal him or kind of just let him expire? Would it be smart to even let him expire?
So beautiful thing, actually, and I learned this. The Flyers own Fedotov's rights for life until they trade him.
How is that?
So I was not sure, but I talked to Alexander Appleyard of The Athletic, and he kind of explained it for me. I don't have the exact words, but it was that the NHL has different agreements with various leagues where it's like you need to sign them by this time or this. They do not have an agreement with the KHL.
Wonderful.
There is no agreement, which means there is no limit.
So anytime Fedotov decides to come over, his rights are owned by the Flyers.
Exactly.
Beautiful thing.
Unless they choose to trade him. Now, I think he could be ready to come to North America next year. But herein lies the problem, right? We're going to have all these goalie prospects. Are they all going to be in North America, or is Chucky going to keep having useless veterans be in Lehigh Valley?
Lions in the last year of a deal. I know that.
Yep.
Berube, I believe, is also, but you've also got Ustamenko and Sandstrom playing for the Reading Royals.
Right, and you know what? Maybe this is before we talk about the trade aspect. Maybe you then it really looks like Reading has been the right spot for Ustamenko and Sandstrom because they're having a bit of a bumpy road Ustamenko's starting to pick it up a little bit, but you shift them to Lehigh Valley next year, and then you bring Fedotov to Reading, and then decide what you're going to do with one of them, because at some point, one of them is probably going to have to go.
Not to mention, you still have a guy like Samuel Urson.
Right.
I mean, there's a logjam there. There's a logjam at the goaltending position.
Well, see, now that's the thing, man. I look at this, and people always give me a hard time. They're like, "Oh, you can never have enough good goalie prospects." It's like, well, no, you can, because if you can't use them, then you have too many. Yeah. And I look at it as Fedotov right now is having a great year in the KHL. Mm-hmm. His stock is probably as high as it will ever be. Mm-hmm. Maybe you see if somebody would be interested in him with something else to bring you an NHL talent. Like, Ivan Fedotov alone is not going to bring you something to help your NHL roster, but if you could package him to get something, like, maybe you need to take advantage of that.
And I mean, the guy's 23 years old, so there's not a bunch of physical maturing that he needs to do.
Right.
So he might be ready. He makes that jump. Who knows? We'll see. I think, like you said, trading him is always a possibility, and it's always a decent possibility as well.
Right.
Which leads us to the last question that we have focused on prospects. It's Bud Levetsky, and Bud asks, which prospects are most likely to be moved for an upgrade to the current roster?
Yeah, this one's tough. Because I don't think you get any of the top guys, right? I mean, obviously, like, not Morgan Frost or Joel Farabee or Phil Myers,
God,
if you're
no.
still, yeah, I mean, yeah. So let's not even talk about them. But, like, I don't even know if they would go as far as Isaac Ratcliffe at this point.
Yeah.
I think you're looking more at maybe the prospects who were in that, like, class before them. So if you look at, like, maybe a German Rubtsov, see if you can get a few.
Go
ahead.
Vorobiev, that'd be kind of nice.
That's what I was just going to say.
If he's really worth anything at this point.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think a bag of peanuts would help the NHL roster. But I truthfully think that it's got to be a goalie.
Yeah.
If you look at the area that we probably have the most depth in the prospect pool, like quality depth, and also the fact that we have our starting goaltender, it makes the most sense. Take one of these guys where someone will be willing to, value them highly and turn it into something to help the NHL roster. And I don't think anybody could be upset if we traded one of them. Because we have more.
Yeah, what's the point in being upset over a guy that we haven't even seen play for the Flyers? It's what could have been. Yeah, we all want these guys to pan out, but truth of the matter is, some of these guys aren't. And the guys that don't pan out, they're going to break your heart if you hold them to too high of standards. Right.
I would love to capitalize on someone like Fedotov having a great season, or Mateusz Tomek, believe it or not, is having a great year. I mean, we could all argue the league that he's playing in, but trying to maximize their value while they're playing well when we're not really sure if they're going to maintain that.
You're right. And for me, I still stand by what I said in the last show. I really think Ratcliffe's the guy that's going to get moved.
Do you?
Because let's be honest, if the Flyers are going to make a push and they're going to want somebody good, they're going to have to give up some quality. And Fedotov may not be there yet, but pair Fedotov with a guy like Rubtsov, like you said, maybe a guy like Vorobiev, and you can get some quality depth players that can bolster your middle six if you're the Flyers, because you're going to need another center, presumably at least, but we'll see. I also wanted to say that I was wrong. That was not our last question. We have literally a last-second submission.
Ooh.
Matt Stinger, fellow writer with us here at PSN, goes, what PSN prospect would you think has the best shot? Should you go to a three-man podcast?
Oh
boy. Matt, do you really want to know?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I don't know, man. I mean, when you think about it, we've had Stinger on here. We've had Eric. Both of them phenomenal. We both love having them on as guests. Very knowledgeable. They know the game. We need to have Ricky on here. Ricky Amandeo.
Yeah, dude kills it.
Kid is a workhorse. Good God. Yeah. Man, I don't think we can honestly make an assessment until we've had all of them on.
Stinger, I choose you.
Oh, way to pander to the crowd.
There it is. Love you, Stinger. I choose you.
Yeah. Well, we're done pandering now. But, folks, this has been the first ever Pod Street Prospects podcast as part of the Pod Street Bullies. Let's be honest, it's just Pod Street Bullies and we're talking prospects, but Pod Street Prospects sounds cool.
Right.
To cap everything off, John, please tell everybody where we can find you, my friend.
You know what? Actually, I'm not going to do that. Because you don't want to find me. I'm not that interesting. But what you do want to find is the Pod Street Bullies Twitter. So instead of sharing my Twitter, I want you to follow the Pod Street Bullies Twitter, which is @pod, then ST Bullies. Follow that Twitter. We want to get to 1,000. We're having a lot of fun during the games now. So follow that Twitter. Don't worry about mine. Mine stinks.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm following suit. You don't need to know about me. You just need to know that my name's Derek, and you'll catch me and John here twice every week. One time talking Flyers, the other time talking prospects. Also, we're going to get this started here. #ForTheBullies.
Love it.
Yeah, we're going to get that trending eventually. But for now, folks, this has been your little mini episode on the Pod Street Prospects. So have fun until the next time we speak. And as always, I guess I can't say let's go Flyers. Should I be saying, well, yeah, let's go Flyers, but I should be saying let's go Prospects, right?
I don't know. That sounds stupid. Just say let's go Flyers.
Let's go Flyers.
Bye now.